All right, so today we're going to talk about the third-party panel. We're going to talk about the reveals. We're going to talk about my thoughts regarding the reveals and where most of them seem to go and what the ramifications for all of that is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot to kind of talk about here outside of the general reveal element, in my opinion anyway. So it started off getting my attention almost immediately with Zeta Toys, whom you guys know I'm a big fan of. But unfortunately, at least for me, the only reveal that we actually got was of Blitzwing from the Bumblebee movie, the one that looks like Starscream. And he looks good, and I was really impressed with their Bumblebee. However, I just was hoping to get something of their Predacons for this. Like, that's the one I'm really waiting for, which of course is selfish. But hey, if I don't look out for me, who is? You know what I mean? But the jet mode looks great. The canopy or can of peas looks great. The scale with him next to Bumblebee looks fantastic. So I'm digging it. It's just not, it just doesn't do it for me. Then we see a new company called Lemon Tree. Now they're working mainly in the studio series, it seems, and they're doing a Prime based off the Bumblebee film. So more movie stuff, which looks fine, I guess. The studio series for me generally walks this fine line of kind of the retail look versus a high quality look, which is cool. It's just sometimes I wish they would, crap or get off the pot, really. That's not a knock on how this looks. It's a knock more so on the kind of line itself generally. But they're doing a Blitzwing styled Starscream from the movie, which is interesting. And also I feel like it's like a situation where it's been a long time coming, like where you just deco the thing how most people viewed that character anyway. So I applaud that choice. And it goes to show how good it could have looked, you know what I mean, had it really been Starscream. So I dig that. They got that ship from the movie, and that's going to turn into Shockwave. I guess is okay. I'm okay with the kind of artistic representations of stuff as long as things are balanced, and I don't feel like things are balanced right now, but we'll get back to that later. But they got more movie stuff. Soundwave, Ironhide, a Shockwave, all that, plus more Seekers, which we should have guessed, I suppose. Banana Force showed a couple offerings, but the one that I was most interested in was their Diatlas. Just an amazing looking figure. Doubt I'll pick it up because I'm not that huge a fan of the character, but I am at least familiar with the character, and I'm not familiar with a lot of their other offerings. And I am familiar with their work, which I think is fairly impressive, so I'm anxious to see this figure up close. Like, it looks really good to me. And then they're working on a Prime. When they showed this, I was like, man, people are going to hit them with the, it's not G1 enough. But, like, I hope they kind of stick to their guns. Like, there's more G1 Primes out there than you can shake a stick at right now. So I kind of like seeing, more stylized or alternate versions because it's really a sand to the beach kind of situation right now with Optimus Prime. Transform Element showed off their Bumblebee they got coming. More movie stuff, which I guess is fine. I was kind of hoping they'd dig a little bit deeper into the G1 Masterpiece well, but we don't get a whole lot of that these days. And then we got more reveals of the Predacons that are coming out from Kang Toys. I want a kind of Masterpiece modeled Predaking really bad, but this is really far left to center, and it's a huge investment, so I'll be interested to see how this fares. I think it's got to be built really well. Like, it has to be something about it that sits outside of the norm of quality and standard in order to really grab people's attention here. I think I overheard them say when they did the video that it was a 16 combiner, so you're looking at probably a minimum of $600 in order to pull this set off. And if that's the case for something that has no basis in anything other than their artistic representation of these characters, which I do think look cool, I think it's going to be hard to grab people's wallets with this just due to the investment, the cost of entry. So it's a peculiar choice and one I'm not sure I totally understand. However, what I do think is the caveat here is when they finally show off what the Predaking looks like. There's already things about it proportionately that don't speak to me. Just looks like it's kind of done in that older style, and as a result, the proportions look a little wonky, especially in the arms and hands. But I feel like if they were to grab people, it's going to be with how that looks. So time will tell. Giga showed off another Slag, which is a bummer because I really want them to tackle another set of figures. I want to see what the future holds for Giga Power. I think that they make a good product overall, but they've just been making Dinobots for like 7 years now, so it'd be nice to see something else. Fans Hobby, going hard with the Headmaster Juniors. At least it's something different, something that's tied to kind of that G1 era, if only by a thread, and a company that makes pretty good stuff. So I'm interested to see. I do like a lot of the Decepticon Headmaster Juniors. I'm not as knowledgeable in regard to the Autobot ones, but I hope that they kind of see that thing through. They've carved out a nice little niche for themselves, kind of in the distant G1 era, or the Japanese G1 stuff. They also showed off this Naval Commander, which is Prime from some cartoon I never watched, and yeesh. I mean, I'm sure it looks just like it because Fans Hobby kind of knows what they're doing sculpt-wise, but What a weird design, just in my opinion, especially that back view, Mac. Great googa mooga. I do think that the kind of ultra mega combined mode of it, though, looks pretty intimidating, if a bit much. But we all know that Fanswabi does like things to be a bit much, so I have faith that they'll do a good job. Then we got and I like what they're doing with the Soundway, these alternate looks, a couple different options. It's similar to what they're doing with their Stunticons. I just dig that as sort of an approach. I'm anxious to see what this thing looks like in final colors because, for one, I think Fans Toys paints their stuff beautifully, but for two, I'm sure it'll be vastly different than the Takara one, and I just wonder what it'll look like to me. I think the tapes look great. I'll probably swap out my Laserbeak because I do love the angles of the wings and how kind of dangerous it looks. They showed off their Tesla, which looks good, and I've decided that I might have room for two different Perceptors. You know what I mean? Put one with Season 2, put one with the movie guys. I don't know. I'm probably just trying to come up with some sort of reason in order to get me to buy this thing, or at least justify it in my mind as to why I need more. It's addictive behavior. It's not good. But this thing looks cool, and I like the little Diaclone homage. Like, there's some thought that went into this. But what really caught my attention is the possibility of a Prime. Now, I do agree that we are primed out. However, if Fans Toys were to take a stab at a Prime, it would definitely get me. Being as though I wasn't 100% satisfied with the 3 Masterpiece offerings that we were given to choose from recently, I chose the one that I liked the best out of the 3, given the aesthetic and the price in regard to I wasn't really in love with any of them. But this could be an opportunity for kind of a clear-cut winner, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope it means what I think it means. We then got the Huffer, which was teased in their recent sort of post that they've made on social media. Very cartoon accurate, but it does lack a little bit of that Fans Toy sophistication in robot mode, I feel like. It looks good, don't get me wrong, but I like a little bit more sauce on my figures. And this looks very plain, very boxy. And what's funny to me is that I do feel like the details come through in the truck mode, which I think looks fantastic. It's just the robot mode where I feel like it just looks a little flat to me. I'll get it, of course, but I still have to say that I think it looks a bit flat. Then they showed their Jazz. So this is the thing, right? We'll talk about their Jazz and we'll talk about their Mirage kind of back to back, okay? And kind of in the same thing. So first of all, let me say this. I think that they both look great. I think they both looked perhaps G1 to a fault. It's like every year we're losing more and more line work from Fans Toys, and I don't want to lose too much of it because I really enjoy their line work. I don't need it to be so far gone where it's just lines everywhere, but I don't think that they need to take the Takara approach in that ultra sleek, flat panels everywhere. That being said, what they do nail are the things that they tend to nail, which are the proportions, the face sculpts, stuff like that. All of that stuff looks money, and I'm in for all of this stuff. Don't get me wrong, but like my issue with these reveals is while there are many, and I understand that there's people that don't have the MMC Mirage, there's people that don't have the Make Toys Jazz, that there's a need for it. I get it, right? It's not selfish in that regard. I'm just saying it's not exciting because there's nothing new here. There's no high priority characters for us who have been around and kind of following since the beginning. Now, theoretically, Fans Toys is just going to do everything, right? If everything continues as we know it. But still, like, just I wish they would have just peppered in something that we hadn't seen before, something that was new to the collection, not new to them, to be specific. That being said, they look great. I'll pick up both. It just doesn't do much for my excitement level. We then got MMC, who had the final showing company-wise, which I'm not sure if that is totally deserved, to be honest. But ironically, it was one of the reveals I was most excited about. So let's talk about it briefly. We got a ton of repaints because, you know the vibes. That's how they roll. But then they showed off their Chrome Dome and Rewind. I love them. I think they look great. I am definitely getting these guys, definitely adding them to my IDW shelf. It was nice to see. Quite nice to see. And I think they look good, and I'm going to be watching them very closely. Little bum we didn't see anything of their Defensor or any Defensor out there. So that was kind of my big disappointment for this panel in general. And then lastly, we got this Unicron that was Zeta and is now Studio Cell or Studio One. And look, I think this thing looks great. I don't have any issues with it. I don't think I'm going to buy it, but who knows? Maybe I will just to check it out. I backed the Hasbro one because I like the size and I had the perfect place for my display. It's kind of a logistical thing, whereas this will look somewhat out of place with my collection. But I love it. I think it looks great. I love all the sculpted details and the shoulder panels on the chest and the little details that are inside it while you transform it that have like the little movie new nods and homages. Like, a lot of love went into this, a lot of care went into this, and I think it's obvious, and it shows in almost every element of the figure. The planet mode, I think, lacks a little bit, mainly in the teeth, and when the teeth open up, it ends up looking a little strange to me. But I don't think most people will have this in planet mode, so I totally get it. But I know a lot of people wanted this. I also know that this was a huge investment on Zeta's part, so whether or not Zeta rebranded or sold it or whatever they ended up doing, at least they got their money, because there was harsh rumors out there that the amount of money that they had invested into this, with Hasbro making an aggressive attempt to shut it down, could have sunk this company. So I'm glad to see that whatever that is got sorted, because I want Zeta to continue. And that was it for the panel. Which brings us to the end of our show. Now, how would I describe this panel in one word? It would be unexciting. That's not a dig at the people that put on the show or made the video or any of that. It's just at the reveals themselves, and it's mainly because I'm a G1 masterpiece collector. And if we look at the numbers regarding this, there were 7 G1 masterpieces shown here. Now, I'm not saying revealed because some of them we've seen before, but shown. Of the 7, only 1 wasn't Fans Toys. And that's not counting some of the more MMC repaint stuff, like the blue and white Ravage and all that stuff. That stuff I left out. There were 8 reveals for movie stuff, specifically from Bumblebee. 8. Which is cool for them, but it doesn't do much for me. And then anything that wasn't movie stuff or G1 Masterpiece, there were 12. With no sign of DX9, no sign of Unique Toys, no sign of Make Toys Bag Cube, no sign of Keith anywhere, neither KFC nor X-Transbots, so it just wasn't a whole lot for me. And even the Fans Toys reveals, I don't find them to be particularly exciting for the most part. So there could be a number of reasons why this is, and we're not going to talk about that right now, because I think there's a discussion here to be had that the Dummies can tackle. So we'll probably be doing it there. Real quick before we get out of here, product is not being released timely anymore, right? Due to the circumstances. I will remain having 3 videos a week solely dedicated to Transformers, plus a minimum of at least 1 Star Wars thing on Friday. My goal is to have all the Transformers stuff be Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, but I might have to get creative with some of the topics. And I might have to spread stuff out. So because I'm putting this up today, because it's timely, I won't be back until Friday probably with Force Friday and then Sit Down Saturday, which I do have a lot of great topics to tackle on Sit Down Saturday. So just bringing you up to speed as far as what's going on here. Business as usual, but we are going to have to start really allocating material places in order to kind of just keep stuff coming. Other than that, stay safe. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.